Hi guys, so our second lesson of space is on the planets. Okay, so measuring distances in solar systems, we talked a little bit about this in the first lesson. Astronomical unit is a unit of distance in space. So a measurement equal to the distance between the sun and the earth. So 1 astronomical unit is equal to 150 million kilometers. So that means that if 1 AU is the distance from the sun to the earth, then the distance from the sun to the earth is 150 million kilometers. Okay, so that is equal to 1 AU. So a light year is a measurement equal to the distance that light travels in 1 year. So this is really not approximately 9.46 trillion kilometers. Okay, so not to get confused with the amount of time it takes for light to travel in a year, but it is equal to the distance that light travels in 1 year. So again, that is about 9.46 trillion kilometers. Okay, so again, just a quick reminder, it is 1 AU, the distance between the sun and the earth, which is 150 million kilometers. So because of this huge distance, it takes light a certain amount of time to travel from the earth to the moon, or the earth to the sun, or vice versa, the sun to the earth. So you'll see over in the diagram here, it says for light to travel from Earth to the moon, based on the distance between the two, it takes light 1.3 light seconds. Whereas from Earth to the sun, based on the distance between the sun and the Earth, it takes 8.3 minutes for light to travel. Okay, so down here it says, how fast does light travel in a vacuum anyways? So light can travel 300,000 kilometers per second. So it says, meaning a beam of light can circle Earth 7.5 times in 1 second. Okay, so the reason being is the approximate circumference of the Earth is about 40,000 kilometers. So light can travel 300,000 kilometers in 1 second. Okay, so that means that in 1 second, Earth can circle or travel around the world based off of Earth's circumference 7.5 times. Okay, and just a reminder, 1 light year, guys, is the measurement equal to the distance that light travels in 1 year, and that is about 9.46 trillion kilometers. Okay, so our solar system is made up of 4 inner planets and 4 outer planets. In the center of our system is the sun. Okay, the star of our solar system is the sun. So the inner planets are Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars, whereas the outer planets are Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Okay, there's also some dwarf planets in our solar system, so probably know now that Pluto is considered a dwarf planet because it doesn't meet all 3 criteria to be considered a real or an actual planet. Okay, and just a little trick, if you're trying to remember the order of the planets from closest to furthest from the sun, you can use the mnemonic, my very angry mother just served us nachos. Okay, so the first letter of every word there is the first letter of the planet. So my, Mercury, very, Venus, eager, Earth, mother, Mars, just, Jupiter, served, Saturn, us, Uranus, nachos, Neptune. So it's just a way to remember the order of the planets. Okay, so we have our inner planets. So like I said, that is Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. These inner planets, guys, are composed of rocky material and metals. Okay, so the inner planets, also known as the terrestrial planets, which I'll write right here, terrestrial planets, they are mainly solid planets made up of rocks and metals. They have rocky cratered surfaces. They are much smaller than the other planets. So the 4 inner planets are smaller than the 4 outer planets. The inner planets have no or very few number of moons, and they are closest to the sun. Okay, so again, Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. Okay, and because of their rocky material, they have densities that are similar to many rocks. Okay, now we have the outer planets. They do not seem to have solid surfaces, although deep within their atmosphere there may be a center of liquids and solids. They are made up of mostly gases and liquids. They are large, so larger than the inner planets, and they are mainly composed of or contain hydrogen and helium. These outer planets have numerous moons, so they tend to have a high number of moons in comparison to the inner planets, and they are the furthest planets from the sun. So we know them as Jupiter, Uranus, Saturn, and Neptune. Okay, in order, Saturn should be here. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Okay, so these guys lack solid surfaces, but their cores are of solid material. They're again made up of gases, mainly hydrogen. They're also known as gas giants, and they're going to have longer orbit periods because they're further from the sun. So the time or the distance of their orbit is going to be much larger than the inner planets. Okay, so here's a slide here comparing the size of the planets. So if you look up here, we have Earth. So we're looking at the inner planets in this first diagram. Earth, Venus, Mars, Mercury. Okay, so you'll see the size differences there. Earth being the largest, followed by Venus, Mars, and then Mercury the smallest. You'll see Pluto here. We know Pluto isn't considered a planet anymore. It's a dwarf planet. Pluto was even smaller than Mercury. And then if you look down here, we see the outer planets, so Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Jupiter being the biggest of the outer planets. And if you come looking down here, this area, okay, now you're seeing all of the planets together. So then down here is Earth, Venus, Mars, Mercury, Pluto. So you'll notice the difference in size between, say, Earth and Jupiter. Okay, and then this last diagram is comparing all the planet size to the size of the sun. So Jupiter down here looks very small in comparison to the sun. So you can only imagine what Mercury's size, you can't even hardly see it in the diagram. Okay, and there's also a video here, guys, for you guys to be able to see and compare planets and stars' size. Okay, so I've added this table in the PowerPoint. This is also in your student booklet. I'm not going to go through all of this information here, but this is here for you guys. All of the planets of our solar system, their nickname, distance from the sun, size, time to orbit the sun, number of moons, and some unique or notable features. Okay, so this would be an important table to have when you're doing the quizzes, or just to know more information about each planet. Okay, and then there's also a solar system video here that you guys can watch as well on your own time. And another one comparing size and distance from the sun. Okay, and as for homework on the planets, you guys have a worksheet on page 8 in your space booklet. Thanks, guys.